It's the Friday Feels, and we're back with your first sip of the weekend. You're now tuned in to this week's episode of Your Happy Hour. I'm your host, Nicole Carmine, and it's amazing to have you here, joining me this week as we uncover the truths about being a human and a working professional. What are you up to this Friday? Well, whatever it is, this moment is just for you. We're continuing our chat around reinventing your conditioning and what that means to all of us. And along my journeys of travels in the last 2 years, I had reached out to quite a lot of people on apps like Workaway, which is this amazing platform where you get to travel through the world, connect with people that are on there, stay with them, learn about their life. And so through Workaway, I met this wonderful woman called Tonya Lehtinen, who we're chatting to today. And very, very welcome to the Friday Feels podcast, Tonya. I know that you are living in Malta, which is one of the places I really wanted to go and see, and I have yet to be. But you also kind of live between Malta and Cape Town, so we share that South African route. Yeah, just really happy to have you on here today. So very big welcome.
Thank you.
And I know that you're also a founder of a very interesting company called VogueXchange, and I was looking at your Instagram, and you say there you're creating social mobility, innovating, and having fun with upcycling. So that sounds really interesting to me. I know you've walked an interesting journey, so maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and what this topic of reinventing your conditioning means to you.
I've been here for about almost 5.5 years. And so I think that I'm pretty settled here. This is a island with little rocks, so I do miss the green in Cape Town. Yeah, so I've been quite busy here. I started a little vintage shop called VogueXchange, and really that was the beginning of my journey towards like upcycling and that kind of thing. I have no background in fashion. My background is in graphics. But I realized that there was quite a lot of stigmas around fashion, and so I set up this little thing, and it's become a little my mouthpiece to talk about sustainability and circularity, and then little offshoots have come of that. So I do workshopping with migrants, teaching them some soft skills, sewing skills. As I said, I'm not a skilled designer, but we make things, and it's part of the process for them, the creative process. It's quite healing, it's meditative, and then also obviously with upcycling, it's a lot of problem solving. And then they get to practice their English, and I also do a fashion show, an upcycling fashion show with a friend of mine, Sarah Portelli. And we're hoping to grow that into a green sort of event on the island. And we've used that as well to really integrate people, because we use people from all walks of life. Very few professional models. It's just friends, family, people who walk in the shop, people from the migrants from the workshops, and kind of really trying to get this idea about slowing down fashion and it's interesting because I made a collection twice, and when you start thinking about what you really love and what you really love to wear and slowing down fashion, people come in a very different way. When they're interested in your item, something about it inspires them. It's a conversation that inspires them, or a look that inspires them, that's resonating with something inside themselves. So I really, I love it when I see people which have been styled by small designers or crafters, and they found things and they put it together, and they really are wearing a conversation about themselves.
Oh, wow. I really love that. It's so true. And I've kind of come to realize that across my journey as well. how much what you wear is such an expression of yourself out in the world. I mean, as humans, we only have certain tools to be able to show the world how we feel inside and kind of who we are, and express that. And fashion is one of those. So I just love how you incorporating community into that. And why Malta? I'm just curious. So how did you end up there and doing this?
Just an odd chain of events. A friend of mine had moved here. And a friend of mine was sailing the Middle Sea, and then I got a small job in the biennale, an art biennale here, because I worked with on the back end of the art world in South Africa, and I accidentally bought a house and stayed.
I love that. I accidentally bought a house, as you do.
But when you were talking about that, we have so little. If you think about, men's suits are not so much used like they used to. But still, if you see somebody in a suit, you think they're a lawyer or a banker. Doctors obviously have their outfits. Like you have work uniforms, which will also tell you something about yourself. And then you have school uniforms that would tell obviously where you came from, which school you were. We have all these uniforms, and we are quite conditioned to uniforms, and especially in the fast fashion industry, we have trend forecasters, which are using data and analyzing what the trend is going to be in 2 years' time. We have people using information to literally tell us who we're going to be. And I think that clothing is a very big part of your identity. If you're a punk rocker, you're going to dress a certain way. If you're a hippie, you're going to dress a certain way. It tells you something, tells other people something about who you are. But when we buy into this fast fashion, it literally eliminates that. It snuffs all of that creativity and individuality.
Yeah, that's really true. I've never really, I'm also quite new to exploring fashion in my own way, but I've never really thought about fast and slow fashion. So it's really intriguing for me to hear how you explain it. And I like the idea of slowing down fashion. And if that means breaking stereotypes and coming up with new innovative ways for us to show our authentic way ourselves in the world, I think that's really amazing. And so do you find that when you work with people in community where you are now, that there are certain kind of molds that get broken, or that are reinvented in some way through the fashion and creations?
I think that Malta is still got a long way to go with people using fashion to express themselves, and that's quite conservative. And being part of belonging to the Commonwealth, they had the school uniform, which sets people up in a very young age to sort of be in a uniform, and not to break the standing convention. And I mean, we all know, like, even if we were, you come from South Africa, we had uniforms, and even in that kind of small circle, if your uniform was too old or tatty, you were teased, so we are really, especially here, like it with a new flood of secondhand clothes coming, secondhand clothing shops coming up, and there's like quite a lot of drive to individuality, but still the average person here is quite conservative, and so they will buy into the fast fashion. I know, because at the end of every season I get a certain kind of clothes, or I know that was from that season, and it's just, but here it's slowly, but I think one of the communities which is making some moves is the LGBT plus community. They a lot of them are willing to be a little bit out of the box. Yeah, so they are making some moves, and yeah, generally there's a lot more maker space. So yeah, there is a shift towards people being willing to step out of the box and, start telling their story through their clothing.
I love that. Yeah. And I know what you mean with South Africa. There is like, when you born in places where have the school uniform, and it's kind of convenient. Actually, I was thinking about it recently as I was watching someone walk to school here in France, and I was like, oh, it was so convenient. You just kind of put on the same uniform every morning. You don't have to think about it. But at the same time, you don't really go through that young expression phase in that way. So I think it's quite important in a way to actually find your own expression when you're young, even if it's then wearing something different to school or figuring out what that is and making time for that in your own way. But I found that really interesting. And so have you found quite big differences from Malta and Cape Town? Cape Town is quite a fashion hub in its own way. Maybe it's still kind of exploring that. I mean, I live in Paris, so it's a little bit different. There's a lot of fashion and beauty around here. But yeah, have you found it being different between like Europe and South Africa or other places you've traveled?
I think specifically Cape Town is its own little planet. And Cape Townians have a great way of dressing down.
That's true.
Yeah. It's kind of a very chic surfer style. I don't know. Obviously there's different pockets of people, but generally you would know if someone came from Cape Town. They've got a kind of easy, casual style. But we wanted to just talk a little bit about kind of reinventing yourself. I think that reinventing your conditioning, and I think that here in Malta, I see a big shift. Like when I first came, pretty much every young boy would wear Tommy Hilfiger. That was it. And I had sometimes young people coming here and telling me that, the bullying is quite difficult. If you don't have the right stuff or the new stuff, trying to fit into that convention. But more and more, there's a kind of global pressure to more conscious choices, especially in fashion. So people are rethinking it. And then, of course, secondhand clothing is just like exploded. So it is become a trend, and people are then starting to explore that. And some of the comments I get from the young people is the freedom they experience when they drop that, like that bubble, like the Tommy look. And they are able to, it's just a freedom and the pressure without the pressure. And that I think is really, your focus becomes less about what other people are thinking about yourself and more about what you're thinking about yourself, how you feel, your obviously comfort. And I mean, you don't have to specifically be way out of the, way out or unusual or something, but still it's just more suitable to more aligned to what you are feeling inside and want to show the world. And I think that clothing is really a great way to, let's just call it, fake it till you make it. So if you want to make some changes, it's such an easy way to kind of support your change. So if I there's a lot of work which goes into making changes. It's trending all over TikTok. People are trying to change their face. What's it called? There's called glow ups. I'm not all into the trend.
Me neither.
The young men are changing their jawline. It's like, but you look and you say, oh wow, they've reinvented themselves. But there's a lot of work which goes into that. You have to train, you have to eat well, you have to sleep. But adding a uniform, well, we all know when we were young, or even now, like if you go to a dress-up party and you go up as a pirate, you kind of got the pirate stance and you're gonna, rah, rah, so it's clothing can be a costume which can really support change, I think, because you a little bit can hide behind it and then like experience how other people see you. And in that way, you can step forward into it yourself. That's kind of how I see it.
I think that's such an amazing, also kind of piece of advice for people out there. And I felt that a lot too, as I've kind of gone through my own transitions and transformations. clothing has really supported that a lot, because sometimes you're quite hidden from the world in your own way, and we're all kind of going through those journeys. And I think everyone that's kind of listening out there, you might feel the same. You know, you might feel that you don't know how to kind of quantum leap into the where you want to be. But it is really nice when you can use almost like our human tools that we have, and these things like clothing. So, Tonya, did you see yourself doing this 10 years ago? Did you know you're going to be in this journey? I mean, you were working at something different, but
I had absolutely no idea. I kind of had hoped to move into the sort of art world. So it was just I started off with doing some little pop-ups, some swaps, and then I saw a need or a niche, and it just like really grew from there.
that's amazing. Oh, that's kind of testament to saying yes to the nudges from the universe in the moment, which is amazing. And I feel like even though maybe art means something different to you, I think fashion is art. And especially in the way that you explaining it, and how people are expressing themselves is almost like art pieces in the world. So you probably found yourself back to art in quite a unique way, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, well, I think if you see on the runways nowadays, it just seems to be merging together. People are going on the runway with, I don't know, aquariums, chairs, like it's becoming quite like I think art and fashion are kind of merging in a big way.
Yeah, they are, and it's quite interesting for me to see how all these industries come together. I mean, you have a lot of like big fashion industries supporting motorsport, or whatever it is, but people are kind of yearning for that expression, that beauty, that fashion is such a big part of out in the world. And I am very intrigued by this idea of thrifting, which I only really discovered in New York when I was trying to sell clothes and get rid of bags as I was traveling. And I discovered that, something you pay for an item, dearly, and then when you want to go and thrift it, you really don't get so much back for it. So that is quite an interesting, the idea of upcycling, the idea of being able to have that value be back into the system through thrifting is quite an interesting concept to me. Do you find people, I mean, it's on the uptake, but what is the resistance to people kind of doing more of that upcycling?
Upcycling or secondhand?
Well, yeah, actually, maybe what is the difference?
Upcycling is essentially taking end-of-life items and reinventing them, usually into something of the same quality or of better quality. So maybe jeans which have got some holes or stains on, you might want to cut them up. They don't necessarily have to. Some people just take redundant jeans and then you take them and you could make a bag. So you're taking or cut buttons off and make a button jackets. It's basically taking already existing items. And the great thing about upcycling is that it uses no or very little fossil fuels. Like in the fashion industry, all the clothing is the pollution, the fashion, the fossil fuels from textile, making new textiles, and the dyes, all of those kind of things. That whole process is eliminated. So you're using existing products. So that's upcycling. Recycling is generally just when you've taken the material and you break it down and you make a new material from it. So upcycling is it takes a lot of ingenuity. Yeah, and then of course reuse is just reusing, resale.
I'm really glad we delved into the difference between all of them, because I think a lot of people don't even think about the option of upcycling like we're doing it. I think a lot of people will go thrift or, reuse, try and get some value back. But in a way, there's something really beautiful about taking something and then making something else out of that. I think the more things like AI are coming into our world, technology is kind of always giving us some new challenges to deal with, but people are going to turn towards creativity, making things that are that we can with our hands, being human. What does being human look like in a creative way? And I think what you're doing is really very much part of that. You know, how can you take something and reinvent it and create something new in the world, you know, which us only humans can come up with imaginative things like that.
There's a huge upsurge of creatives taking all kinds of waste material and making things out of it. Beautiful jackets from towels, blankets, tablecloths, plastic bags, bottle tops. I mean, it's really amazing what people, like the handbags which people are making from the most random things. I think I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I can hear you've got so much passion for it, and I'm really excited to learn more about this. I feel like I've really only tipped my toe into this ocean. I'll also have to get my sewing skills up to scratch because I'm quite behind in that way. I think a lot of us these days, we're so good at typing and texting, but we actually have forgotten about those skills that are, that seem so daunting. Do you find people are easily learning that when you work?
Well, I don't have any training. I think that for me, trying to understand the machines has really been the thing. And like once you got some kind of familiarity or friendship with your machine, then you can like make up the rest. Obviously, I will never become a tailor or make beautiful suits, and things like corsets and stuff do take some training and skills, but you could always upcycle an existing one, so that's more my take. But a lot of people are starting to go into crafts. I see men knitting and crocheting, and sewing machines are becoming really popular. People love to make things, and I always say, like, some people say, oh, I'd really love to, but I can't. I don't know how. But I just say, remember when we were 6? Nothing seemed to be a problem. You needed a house, you had some friends over, bang, 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 some sheets and towels, and the next thing, you got a house, or you wanted, whatever you wanted, you could just create yourself. When you were 6 or 8, you needed something off to the room, some scissors, some tape, some crayons. The next thing you've got what you want. But then we forget how to play, and we get insecure that people might think, it's not good. But it's just to start. And it's amazing how quickly you learn from your mistakes and get more and more inventive.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's true. We kind of forget how to be children, and yet we kind of remain children at heart, I think. So it's really just tapping back into that kind of courage to try different things and not care if you fail. I think we've become such a perfectionist society, and maybe that's breaking down a bit again now. I kind of see that trend of, there's no such thing as perfection coming through. But I think you're really inspiring people to delve into that space and not care so much about what anyone else is thinking, which is such a beautiful thing. And I know I'm sure your journey hasn't been easy in your own, being able to speak about it now today and the things that you're doing. But what do you feel has been like the biggest challenge you've walked through, and maybe what was the best advice you had during that time that you can share with everyone?
For me personally, I do everything myself. I'm not very good at asking for help. That's the one thing, and also sometimes I jump ahead of myself. I just go for it, and that could lead to failure. And it's also sometimes the hard way, because you have to create as you go along and make mistakes and then backtrack. But I think the biggest take for me is, and what I say to people is, if you don't start, you really just have to start. And there's this amazing book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read it?
I haven't, but it's also been recommended before, so I definitely have to.
the book is really about like making small little changes. You just have to make little changes, and they accumulate over time. So instead of waking up one morning and like reinventing yourself, it's little and consistent changes. So wake up 5 minutes earlier, just 5, and there these little changes, and you can, like, over time, you will literally shift into that, because the accumulation, little changes, and you add another little change, and you add another little change, and it's very, very powerful book.
I definitely have to add it to the list that I for 2025.
Creating anything or doing anything is really a commitment. Like, you just have to decide to do it, and it's tough. You know, if you want to, like, change your physical thing, you have to start going to gym. You don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock and when it's cold and rainy, you know. So everything, I think, just takes a lot of commitment. And I was speaking to a young girl. She had these dreams, and I said, just do them. I said, like, I think that people are so afraid of failing, but I think they're also afraid of succeeding. You know, the thing is that if you say you want to do little art classes for kids, and that's great, you do a few, and, you know, but if you succeed, you're going to need to get a bigger space and rent a bigger space and take a 3-year lease and buy more crayons and get more tables and do more advertising and employ somebody. And, you know, that's quite terrifying, because that's commitment.
Yeah, it's true. I can so resonate with that, because I think I read about that in my psychology studies, and I think Viktor Frankl spoke about this. Like, people don't make it because they're so scared of their own power and their own success, actually, instead of the opposite. But we end up sort of self-sabotaging on the way to that, because it's hard work. And I think sometimes we look at people who are successful, and you think, oh, that looks great, like they've just got that, you know, by the blink of an eye. And that's really not true. It's a lot of admin and a lot of work that you have to put in, but the reward is so amazing. And you know, you can feel that in what you've created now, which is great. And so what is kind of like your, let's call it, habit stacking for the next year? What is in a year from now, where do you kind of see yourself and your business?
That's an interesting question, because this VogueXchange is actually owned by my son, and I'm a co-founder, and let's just say he's a sleeping partner, but he works in the NGO world, and so he does give me a lot of good advice, and I sound quite a lot of stuff off him. He asked me the same, like, what do you see VogueXchange? What do you want to have from VogueXchange in the next 5 years? And I was like, well, it's not money, because I haven't been chasing the money. If I would have had a very different structure, probably importing a lot of the things that I don't really agree with ethically. I would have just done it differently if I was pushing for the money. But what I really have been working towards is promoting the idea and the concept about sustainability and consciousness and conscious thinking, and using the shop as a platform to educate people about fast fashion and so forth. And through that, obviously, I've learned a lot myself. It's been a huge learning curve. And the more I've delved into how the fast fashion industry operates and how destructive it is socially, planetary, just in every way, the more it's driven me down that path. So that's really where my passion is. And in 5 years' time, my dream is to be more a spokesperson and less like doing like the real physical. I'm getting quite old for that. And also there's a lot of young people which are super trendy, which I'm obviously not anymore. You know, it takes a lot of work to keep up with all the new trends and things. But I really want to move down that road to get into advocating, looking at for solutions, being more, on that front, and finding a way to use the shop for that kind of purpose as well. I've been thinking, and one of my visions is that the shop could be used as a kind of an internship, bit of a crazy internship. It's a team of 3 which come for 3 months, and they basically get a business with a workshop, because I have a workshop space here. So it's kind of somebody who's interested in the creative space. So a team which is creative, business orientated, and probably marketing. And they get 3 months in the shop, and they have to do everything and pay all the bills. And if they're lucky, they pay themselves. But internships are really hard to find, good internships. And especially if people are not well connected, it's much harder for people from lower social echelons. I mean, Malta is also a fun place to be, and it's not like London. The pressure is not going to be like London. Gozo is a tiny little island, so you have to deal with a lot less. But yeah, so I just that kind of thing. I would like to use the shop for good stuff.
I really love how you're seeing it as like a springboard for connection and empowerment and inspiration and all of that. And I think it's a great idea. Can I sign up for an internship?
Yeah, get a crazy designer friend or upcycler and somebody who loves social media, and come for 3 months, see what you can do.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And the fact that you were willing to open your doors like that to people and keen to really uplift people in their journeys, it's just really inspiring. So thank you for sharing all of that and really just your journey to this point. I can't wait to come and visit in Malta very soon. I know I keep saying I'm going to come, so hopefully in 2025. And maybe on this note is a good point to give a little shout out. So every week we do this thing where we talk about the people, places, and spaces that have inspired. And this week, and I think it's quite fitting, I wanted to give a shout out to The Bridge, Home for Children, which I do happen to be very privileged to be part of, like you say, a sleeping partner. And it's really my beautiful friend, Laetitia Galver, who's French, but living in South Africa in Cape Town, who started this, and it was her dream. She ended up selling her house in France to buy this property in Cape Town. And she's looking after fostering these beautiful kids, normally about 4 to 8 of them. And she built a workshop space, so she's giving people a space to come and facilitate. So just a big shout out to her today on this topic of NGOs and upliftment and reinventing, I think, all the kids that she looks after. She's giving them such an amazing springboard and platform. Yeah, just really wanted to give her a shout out today with all the French love. It's crazy that we met in Cape Town, and you living in Cape Town, and I'm living in Paris now. So
that sounds really amazing. I'd love to you to share the link.
I will definitely. So yeah, for everyone else also listening out there, we'll definitely share all the socials. And before we do kind of end off, I wanted to take a moment to do the gems of the week. So this is something we do around the things that we've really found as uplifting, maybe inspiring, or that you could have gratitude for. So I'll start and then can just give you an idea of what it's like, and you can share if you want. So this week was really, for me, and I think it's quite interesting because you also mentioned it, it was really about having gratitude for the people in my life that make living globally possible. I had some work that needed to be done in my house in Cape Town, and it's quite hard to navigate handy workers and renovations from afar. So I was really grateful for my dad for jumping in this week and making some help possible in my home. And I also realized how hard it was before for me to ask for help like that. Sometimes we can be so proud and not want to accept help. So it's one thing asking, and then it's another thing being open to receiving, I think. So that was really a kind of a moment for me where I realized, okay, I've learned how to ask for help now and to be able to receive it and just have gratitude for it. So yeah, that was really a gem for me this week. How about for you?
This week has been pretty full-on week. We had a small exhibition. I work with the migrant Women's Association Malta. I'm facilitating some work with them on the design, like aspects of some products they're developing, and the project is adding skills, developing skills, and we use obviously all recycled materials, but to empower the woman and to bring the community together, give them some social capital. There were just such lovely people which came, and it was the two aspects: the pride and like of those the ladies which were making those items, like how proud they were of that, and then like the people which came to see how much they respected and appreciated those handcrafts. So yeah, it was just really a really great day just to and all the food. Well, that was just amazing. Most of the women come from countries in North Africa. So yes, really amazing food and just such a good vibe.
Oh, that's amazing. It sounds so wholesome. And I wanted to quickly give a quick update just to say also we're celebrating this week that we've soared past the 2,500 downloads mark. So thank you to everyone listening out there, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in, and we're sending all the feels to everyone out there. And also just a big thank you to our partner in podcasting crime, Riverside FM, who have also now added quite a lot of interesting features for the Christmas season. So if you're into podcasting and content creation, check them out. And they have given us very kindly some discount for our audience. So do stay tuned on the socials for that and connect with us on where to find some of that discount and get involved. So very, very lastly, but not leastly, I know you mentioned the book before, Tonya, but we've added something really cool to our mix, and that is what is in your stack. It's our reading list. It can be anything from a quote to words to a book that you appreciated or that's really meant a lot to you. So can you maybe share with us what is in your stack at the moment?
My stack is busy with transcendental meditation. Let me just think what's in my stack, because I jump from book to book, and then I've got a million projects. Half like this needs sewing, that needs completing. I've got but let me think. Michael Singer is one of the things that I'm busy with at the moment. Some meditation. Yeah, I think that Atomic Habits would be a good start for somebody. And if I had to, it's really for me. I'm focusing on like letting it go. Let it just go through me and not attach a whole, just let it go.
I love that. I've listened to one of Michael Singer's things before, and I know he's written a book that I think is pretty powerful, but I forget the name of it now.
It is, what is it? It'll come to me.
So we can find the title and share it on the socials and all that. But check out Michael Singer. I think he is really an amazing spokesperson for change and transformation in such a beautiful way. And I know he's also got a really weirdly wonderful way of explaining things. It just makes it seem so simple, right? So that's an amazing recommendation. Thank you so much. Yeah, and just thank you for coming to share with us today and being your raw, real, and authentic self. I think it's really such an inspiration to me, and I know for everyone out there who will be listening. Where can everyone find you? What is the best way to connect with you?
Take a trip to a weekend getaway to Malta. A lot of people come just to escape the rain from Europe. January is not the best, but in the spring it's really amazing and green. But if anybody has ideas, they want to do some collabs, or they can either find me on the social media. I think that my number is on Facebook. You can WhatsApp me. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming to share with us. And just wishing you the most success with all the ventures. And I'm very excited to come and sew some things, reinvent some things. And I'll bring all the clothing that I that I thought I might give away, and we can create some cool stuff. So
I'd love to meet you in person. And it's just been I really love talking to lovely young people like you, the view with your sort of open and kind view on the world. And thank you for having me. It's really great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll hopefully see you very, very soon. If you haven't just yet, follow Friday Feels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can share with us all your feels this week by tagging us at fridayfeels.co. And you can also find the website at that handle. And now, as you ease into this weekend, take a moment. Celebrate who you've become, what you've overcome, and what is yet to come as you do the crazy and cool things that you do as the authentic you. You know, the truth about life and work is that it's hard, but the beauty is this global working experience that you're in, well, we earn it together. So keep connecting, empowering, and inspiring this week. And of course, keep it raw and real. Until next time.